Hello, my name is Luis Jafet Russell, and I'm going to talk about the story about Gendrix 40 Wings. Well, um, the main character of this story is Roger Hasley, is Gretchen Hasley, and George Tompkins. The story begins when Mr. Roger Step came home after work. He stepped out of the house and started thinking about his his work. Then he entered into the house. He went directly to the living room, lit a cigarette, and screaming to Gretchen to go downstairs so he can start talking with her about the promotion that he could get if he works plenty 40 days. And she said to him that it will be fine because he what it was waiting for all time. After the talk, she went upstairs to get down to go to Mr. George Tompkins' house. And when they were ready, Mr. Tompkins passed by their house to pick them up because they haven't had a car to drive through there. So they so Mr. George picked them up and took them to his house. When all of them were at the same house, Mr. George started talking about the work that he was developing. Mr. George was a interior designer, and Gretchen make a viewpoint about the chair where Mr. George was sitting. She said to him that the chair was pretty and colorful, and Mr. George replied that he from for himself made it because he was a designer. After the time passed by, and the next topic that they started to talk was about work. In that time is where Roger started to talk about the 40 days that he will be at home working in the mornings, and then when he got home, he had to work hardly from now until 40 days. Mr. George Tompkins looked at him and started saying that work it will be a breakdown, a nervous breakdown for him, because you have to balance your life between working a little and play a little. Mr. George started to describe one day in his life, and he started first thing in the morning is to wake up and then do some exercise, take a shower, a cool one, with cool water, and then hit to work from 10 in the morning until 4:30. After 4:30, he went to play some golf or squash. After that, he can play some cards with the mates that she have, or with some customers that they were at his firm. Roger said to him that it, it was very good because he hasn't has to have to work a very long time. But after what happens then, Roger only had in mind about the garbage shoes announcement. It was worth 2,050 uh, per year. It was a huge amount of money. So he started to work until 3 a.m. in the morning, next day until 2 a.m. in the morning, and he felt sometimes a little bit tired, but it won't stop him to get that announcement about garbage shoes. After the dinner that day, Mr. George Tompkins dropped them out in their house, and they went to bed straight. Time passed, and in the next meeting they had, it was the Hasley family. George Tompkins arrived from from his work, but Mr. Roger Hasley wasn't happy about Mr. Tompkins come to visit and take some dinner together, because the work of Roger was the most important thing they have, taking beside his wife and his marriage. That night, Mr. Roger left them downstairs. He went up to work in the bedroom. After 2 hours or 3, he finally concluded that he can't be doing work because the noise Mr. Tompkins and Gretchen were doing. So he take out of the bedroom the papers and the portfolio and went directly downstairs. The first thing he saw was Mr. Tompkins and Gretchen in the same sofa together, and they start to argue about the work that that Mr. Roger was developing. Mr. Tompkins made an advertisement about the nervous breakdown that Mr. Roger will suffer if he continues to doing the same routine every day. Almost one of them hit each other, so it is which Mr. Gretchen step between them to separate. Roger said to Mr. George to leave the house, to get out, and Gretchen get very upset because George was the only friend that she have. After the days, Mr. George get the promotion. Garrett Shoes called him from New York and announced him that he will be doing all the work for them, so the firm will pay him $40,000 per year. The first thing that Mr. Rogers did that day was telling Gretchen the news, Mr. Gretchen feel very good, and he was on bed sleeping that day. She wasn't feeling very well, and they decided to call the doctor. The doctor say to them that Mr. Gretchen need to sleep, to rest more, and she will be fine 40 days that day. The news that they knew that day was the George Tompkins, that he had he was he had the nervous breakdown. Not Mr. Roger, was Mr. George, and the doctors say to them that that George will be fine. So they were very happy together without George Tompkins. Well, my reflection is that you have to trust your husband if he had something in mind that he wants to develop. That's why your marriage. If you marry a girl or a man, you have to help them, no matter the situation. You have to be them. You have to be there for them. Anyway, thank you.